How's it going guys, Kris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 5 weapon guide. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at one of the Pacific weapons, the BAR M1918A2, an American light machine gun that you'll be able to equip on a support loadout as a primary weapon. So of course the BAR, aka the Browning Automatic Rifle, was designed by none other than the famous American gun god John Browning, just in case the name of the rifle didn't already give that away. It first appeared in 1917 and put into the hands of troops the very next year, during the latter stages of the Great War, primarily made to replace the likes of the French Chauchat and Bernay-Massie LMGs that US forces were issued going into combat in Europe. The original BAR M1918 would have been used to suppress fire whilst advancing towards enemy trenches, but it didn't really see too much action overall, because its service was intentionally delayed so that production facilities could be expanded, and so the gun wouldn't fall into enemy hands too early. But unknowingly at the time, that didn't really matter, because the war was pretty much over a few months later anyway. Skip forward to the late 1930s, when the threat of another world war was about to happen. The US Army realised that they didn't have a viable LMG to issue squads, and so looked back at that older Browning design that never really had much chance to show its true potential. With some adjustments, the BAR M1918A2 was born in the year of 1938, with a lot of the same features as the original. It was chambered to fire the 30-06 Springfield cartridge, it had a 20-round capacity, and it also used detachable box magazines. But this updated variant now had a replaceable bipod and rate of fire selector, and all soldiers within the squad were trained to use the gun, just in case the main operator was killed or injured. The BAR M1918A2 became a very important bit of kit for the Americans, with it serving in all major theatres in World War II. Though it wasn't a perfect weapon, being somewhat tricky to aim with, often suffering from malfunctions, and having a limited ammo capacity. But it was still a fairly reliable and popular gun that fit its purpose well enough nevertheless. Anyway, let's get on to those stats next. The BAR M1918A2 is actually a pretty interesting weapon, because it's got two different fire modes, alternating the gun's stats and making it more or less viable in certain situations. This can be done by using the select fire toggle, typically by holding triangle on PS4, Y on Xbox One, or the V key on PC. Though at its standard setting, the BAR shoots at the nippy speed of 720 RPM, making it one of the quicker shooting support weapons, having a superior fire rate to all the base game LMGs. With this fast fire rate setting, its damage pattern is quite similar to the FG42, as the gun's going to dish out a maximum damage of 25 up to 10 meters, allowing for a 4-shot kill within close range. Though bullet damage is going to slump down over distance, getting much weaker at 50 meters, and then gradually easing off beyond here, reaching that minimum damage value of 11.6 at 75 meters. Basically meaning that it can take up to 9 shots to kill someone beyond the distance of 50 meters, which is quite a lot, making it less ideal for range combat. The damage model for this fire mode definitely favours aggressive use, especially with it having a steeper drop off than average, letting the gun kill a lot more effectively within shorter sight lines, but less so further away. Though should you switch over to its alternate setting, toning that fire rate down to 550 RPM, this also changes the damage pattern, giving the BAR very similar stats to the Madsen MG, allowing it to kill in 6 shots over all ranges, giving it a flat rate of 18 damage per bullet. Combined with that slower fire rate, this makes the time to kill far less competitive for offensive play, as you'd probably expect. With that said, it becomes far more effective for longer range combat, actually giving the gun faster kill times against players in the distance, as its higher damage compensates for that lower fire rate quite nicely. Therefore, the damage stats for both modes gives the BAR both long and short range capabilities, making it quite versatile compared to the other LMGs. Checking out that recoil pattern next, the BAR's got a vertical recoil value of 0.456, with an increased value of -0.024, which is basically the same as the FG42. These aren't particularly bad figures, kinda being a bit average. Though with the gun shooting so quickly in its standard setting, that recoil is going to stack up quite fast, making it feel a bit trickier to control, unless you switch over to its slower setting, which should therefore make it seem more manageable. Horizontal recoil is a little bit on the higher side though, nothing too crazy, as it's still not as bad as the KE7, but with a figure of 0.175, it's still beaten by quite a few of the other LMGs. and if you've chosen to use its faster fire rate setting, this will amplify said recoil a tad more, due to it stacking up quicker in a much shorter space of time. Obviously, this is going to impact accuracy, especially over longer ranges. So along with having a lower damage output, the gun's probably going to seem harder to use too, whenever you choose to use its standard fire rate setting. Switching it down to the lower one is probably going to make life easier for you, and it should also seem noticeably more precise over further distances too, complementing its higher range damage quite nicely. Though you could always lower that horizontal recoil a bit by using the ported barrel specialization, and that's going to drop it down to 0.14, which is a lot better than before, making it just slightly less accurate than the Bren gun. Muzzle velocity is nothing out of the ordinary, being the same as the likes of the KE7, the Lewis gun, and the FG42, as it's got a pretty normal speed of 740 meters per second, so nothing too special. A few of the other LMGs have faster velocities, but within close to medium ranges, that should be fine enough to get the job done easily. If you're taking on someone far into the distance however, you might need to lead your enemy's movement slightly, just to ensure those bullets are going to land bang on target. So when it comes to reliability, the BAR can be a bit of an awkward bugger, because it's only got a 20 round ammo capacity, not exactly a hell of a lot of bullets to go wild with, and it's got one of the fastest fire rates of all the LMGs. So if you put those two factors together, you've basically got a gun that's going to spew out all of its bullets very quickly, which then leaves you fiddling around with an empty mag, giving the enemy a clear opportunity to put you in the ground. If you use the alternate setting, that fire rate's going to be slower, more manageable, and therefore those magazines are going to feel more sustainable, perhaps making them seem to last a bit longer than normal, allowing you to conserve your ammo a bit easier. With the gun only having 20 shots, the same as the LS26 and FG42, you're going to be able to manage the amount of bullets you shoot much easier with the lower fire rate setting, potentially letting you take down more targets due to less shots being wasted. Though whatever the situation, you're not exactly going to be able to take on a whole army with a single magazine, making the BAR less reliable than a few of the other LMGs with larger ammo capacities, like the Lewis and Bren guns. With a tactical reload speed of 2.45 seconds and a full reload taking 3.3 seconds, this generally gives the gun some faster than average mag swaps. Not the quickest, with the LS26 still having the better stats of the two, but still not too far off nevertheless. But unlike the LS26, the BAR's got access to the quick reload specialization, cutting down those reload times, thus therefore making it superior, giving it some of the fastest reloads in the entire class. So this is going to make that limited mag size a bit less of a problem, which will probably come in handy, especially if you like to use that quick fire rate setting close to all the action. Now let's take a good look at those specializations. At the top of the pile, we've got quick reload on the left and quick aim on the right, both pretty nice options to improve the gun's reliability when used aggressively. Quick aim should allow you to get down sights a tad faster, which will always come in handy in close quarters, though because the BAR's only got a 20 round capacity, you're probably going to run out of bullets quite a lot, especially if you're using that faster fire rate setting. To help avoid vulnerability, I'd probably opt for the quick reload spec here, getting you back into the action slightly faster in between kills. Not exactly a huge advantage, but it should make life a little bit easier when things start to get hectic and you're surrounded by danger. Further down the spec tree, we've got two options to boost hipfire accuracy on the left side, with the enhanced grips and polished action specializations, and on the right side we've got the ported barrel and custom stock, generally making the gun more accurate whilst aiming and strafing around. The hipfire advantage on the left side is probably going to benefit close quarter use more with that faster fire rate setting, though just to make it feel more well rounded, I tend to run down the right side of the tree, as that's generally going to help the gun out over all ranges, going pretty well with both its fast and slow fire rate modes. Last of all, as we venture further down the spec tree to the very bottom, we'll be able to find light and stock on the left and barrel bedding on the right. That light and stock should be more useful if you tend to move around a lot whilst aiming down sights, possibly going well with a custom stock option in the last part of the tree, though I'd probably be more tempted to equip the barrel bedding spec instead, mainly to lower its spread even further when standing still, making the gun as accurate as possible. This will also go well with the custom stock option too, as this will make the weapon spread as low as it can physically be, and this should help you out even more when you're taking on enemies in the distance, where you're less likely to be moving around to get on target. So anyway, in conclusion, the BAR M1918A2 isn't just your ordinary support class LMG, because it pretty much functions like two unique guns separated by different stats, all determined by a fire mode switch that can be flicked over at any given time to cater to the situation at hand. In that standard mode, it can be one of the most ferocious weapons in the game, boasting a rapid fire rate and time to kill in close quarters, thus being extremely useful for pushing forwards and advancing towards enemy positions using offensive tactics. With that said, it's restricted by that limited mag size, often making it a deadly but risky gun to use in these sort of scenarios too, as you'll be able to take a couple of enemies down fairly easily, but you can't exactly get too ballsy with it. In a way, this fire mode kinda makes the BAR a bit of a risk-reward weapon, being far more effective in CQC, yet also leaving you very vulnerable here too. If you flip the switch though and use that slower fire rate setting, the gun gets transformed into a far less aggressive but much more defensive LMG, putting it much more in line with the Madsen machine gun. It'll be easier to control, deal more damage over distance per bullet, and its small mag size will feel more manageable too, running out at a slower pace. Though you're going to be outmatched by a lot of the other guns in the game within shorter sightlines, so flicking between these two fire modes on the go gives the BAR dual purposes, and allows you to handle with whatever the game throws at you at the time. It's definitely best to use its standard setting around objective points where enemies are likely to pop up out of nowhere in close quarters, giving you a much better chance to take them on. Though I'd advise getting used to switching over to that alternate fire mode, if you're covering an open area or need to take on someone further away. The BAR M1918A2 is a very versatile gun that can pretty much handle with almost any scenario, and despite being held back by its small mag size, it can be used in a nice variety of ways, though it does take a bit of getting used to if you want to utilise the gun to its full potential. So that's pretty much it for another one guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the guide, let me know by hitting that like button, and subscribe with notifications turned on if you want to be the first to see new content coming up soon. Take it easy folks, have a great day, and I'll be seeing you in that next episode.